What's up, duelists? Your boy is back with some quick draw Dandy Warrior action. Everybody's favorite deck, myself included. Before we get into today's video, which is a banger video, a lot of quick draw knowledge will be exchanged in this video. I want to say that in the next few days, there will be the RBT schedule announced. So make sure you guys are subscribed. You don't want to miss that announcement. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm super excited for this season. I think it's gonna be great. I think it's gonna be a good one. Anyway. This new list, couple of changes from the last list I played. I've cut the second Dust Tornado from the main, and I've added a Starlight Road. Happy with this change. Very happy with this change. Next major cut is I've cut Nimble Mega Hamster and added a second Book of Moon. Actually, super happy with this change. I've not really missed the hamster. Third change, I've cut the third Caius because we no longer have the hamster to support it for Night Assailant. Again, I've been really happy with this change. Night Assailant helps improve your Debris Dragon. You are playing 3 Debris Dragon. It's the best card in this deck, in my opinion. So having more targets for it is really nice. It also improves your quick draws. You can get into a lot of instances where you have like quick draw with a Raikou and Grave. You can pitch Night Assailant, and you can add back the Raikou. Then you can either sack the quick draw for Caius, or you can summon the Raikou and go for a synchro play. And that's usually pretty freaking strong. Hold up one second, I got a cough. Sorry about that, folks. We are back. Anyway, the last change that I do have for this video specifically is I was playing 2 Debris Dragon, testing it, and I was playing a Spirit Reaper in place of it, and boy, let me tell you, that was bad. I really missed 3 Debris Dragon. I think playing Quick Draw, you need to play 3 Debris Dragon. I think that's just like why are we cutting the best card in the deck? It doesn't make sense. It's like playing Black Wings with like 2 Blizzard. It just doesn't make sense. Play 3 Blizzard. It's the best card in your deck. Like, you want to draw it every single match. You do not want to play a match where you don't draw a Debris Dragon. So I think that you have to play the full 3. And your build kind of has to reflect that with cards like Charge and Foolish in the main. I think that that's super important. All right, sideboard. Big change to the sideboard. I'm trying 0 Cyber Dragon. Whether or not the cards I'm trying in its place are better or worse, I'm not 100% sure on it yet. But I've been very unhappy with Cyber Dragon in my actual matches. I've found that it only really comes in versus machines and glads, and it's like not great. Even in games where I get like deck dev'd, Cyber Dragon doesn't like attack over Armed Wing. You know, it doesn't like play through oppression. It doesn't do the things that I need the card to do in those games where I need it to perform. So I've been very unhappy with it. On top of that, I've noticed that in the games where my deck is performing, which should be most of them, I have tokens in play. And when you have tokens in play, Cyber Dragon is ass. It's like a brick. Like, it actually is bad when your deck is performing. So I want to have cards that are good when my deck is performing and also good when it's not performing. Cyber Dragon is really only good when my opponent's deck is not performing and my deck isn't also. And that's a circumstance that is so incredibly rare that I've found Cyber Dragon to be very underwhelming. So I've cut it completely. The cards I've replaced it with are System Down and Threatening Roar. These are 2 cards that, again, I'm not really sure whether or not these are better or worse than Cyber Dragon, but they are cards that fill roles that the Cyber Dragon kind of filled, but also fill other roles that I think are more common in 2024, like Dragon Turbo, for example. Threatening Roar is very good against Dragon Turbo, so I'm testing it in place of that. If you watched yesterday's video, I played a Mask of Darkness quick draw deck, and I used it to sort of template this quick draw build. The big change was I didn't play the full 15 trap cards, and I am not playing the Mask of Darknesses to see if the Mask of Darknesses really add something to the build, or if the build is just like good with or without Mask of Darkness. And I think Mask of Darkness is strong, and I think you can build around it and have a really strong strategy, but there were some cool takeaways from it, mainly the Night Assailant that I was like really happy with. So I'm like, okay, maybe I can incorporate that into my actual quick draw deck. And Threatening Roar is one of those cards that on paper should be really good in this deck. So I'm trying it out for now. Helps against Light Sworns, OTK strats, Black Wings, that sort of stuff. Even Glads. Any deck that's trying to like just summon a bunch of monsters and attack you, Threatening Roar is going to be really strong there. I'm trying a whole bunch of Graveyard Hate. Similar sideboard to the Mask of Darkness deck that I played yesterday. I explained it a little bit in that video. And then I've got 1 Snowman Eater for the Hero Beat matchup, which I don't know. Do people still play Hero Beat? That deck is so mid. Anyway, next replays. Let's get into the replays. We got our opponent, Peito. He says he's a huge fan of the channel. Giga Chad. We start off with a pretty solid hand. Opponent's going to go for Dark Grepher, pitch Malicious, send Plague. Now, normally you only do this if you have Malicious in hand and you just want to get Stardust Dragon summoned, or if you have back row, you want your Stardust Dragon to protect. Otherwise, I feel like you don't necessarily need to go for the Synchro play right off the bat, or even go for this Grepher play at all. His hand is really interesting, but putting a Stardust Dragon into play doesn't make this hand better. It actually kind of makes this hand worse. I think the way you want to play this hand from our opponent is you want to lead on Tragodia. You want to start off with Mystic Tomato and Tragodia. Get a max power Tragodia first. Use your Tragodia when he's at his best. Maybe you can pitch one of your superfluous Greffers to steal a 4-star monster or something like that. You can get a lot of value out of this Tragodia by using it as an opener. And one of the ways you can use it as an opener is by like crashing Tomato, that sort of stuff. And that's like pretty easy to initiate. I think spending a lot of the cards in your hand up front, making Stardust Dragon, Dark Grepher turn 1, when you don't really have anything for the Stardust Dragon to protect, weakening your Tragodia play, and setting yourself back a draw to stack for that Plague, or shuffling away one of these cards, it's not great. It's not great, I'm going to be honest. I think that it's not the best use of this. You're not getting anything out of this. You're just going -1 to summon a 1700 and a 2500. And most decks can deal with that fairly easily with 6 cards, especially in a format with like multiple deprisons. And let's say your Stardust Dragon gets deprisoned here, right? Or compulsed or something like that. Now you have 4 cards, and none of them are particularly strong, or nor do they work together. So I think that it's best to lead on Tragodia. Use your monsters when they're at their best first, and then go for like the Stardust maybe later in the game when it can get value by battle immediately. Going for a -1 Stardust Dragon and leaving Grepher in play, it's just not very good in this meta. Grepher gets run over here by Stratos, gets run over by Shura. All of a sudden, like, you're just in a bad spot, even with a Stardust Dragon, which is not where you want to be. So, yeah, we draw into Lone Fire Blossom. Like I said, going for this big -1 Stardust play, it just, when your opponent has 6 cards, every deck in the format can deal with it very easily unless you have back row to protect with the Stardust. So it's really unstable. Anyway, Titaniel's going to run over the Stardust. And we're just going to pass. You don't need to set the Solemn Judgment here because I want my Gorge to be live in the case that I need to like negate something. He sets his Tomato, he switches his Dark Grepher, and he passes. So this is kind of like awkward, right? Because like you want your Trag to be strong, but you also need to put the Tomato in play. So it's like a really awkward situation here. One thing you could do in this circumstance is you could crash the Tomato and then maybe special the Tragodia. Tomato, get Krebins, and then Synchro with the Tragodia and the Krebins to make Dark End to trade your Tragodia and your Tomato with the Titanial. But that is really unfortunate, you know? That is a really unfortunate circumstance. Anyway, we draw into Quick Draw Synchron, which is really nice. So we'll just attack over the Grepher, keep it simple. Set Raikou, set Solemn, pass. He draws Heavy Storm, he plays it. I don't really agree with playing the Heavy Storm yet either, actually. I think you only want to play the Heavy Storm when you go for a power play. For this play, I think you can just flip the Tomato and attack the whatever it is you were going to attack. He's going to take 14 here. He's going to grab Krebins. He's not going to summon the Tragodia because he's going to go for the Black Rose. So that's pretty good. You know, you trade Heavy Storm and you trade Instant Fusion and you trade Tomato for Raikou, Titanial, and Solemn Judgment, which is a pretty good trade. But at the end of the day, you've got this Tragodia, which got no value, and it's just sitting around in your hand. I think that's something that a lot of new players or players who don't play with Tragodia frequently mess up, is they go to 0 cards while they still have Tragodia. Use it early, use it often. Don't be afraid to use Tragodia as an aggressive option. It's not necessarily the defensive option that Gorz is, where it's good late. Tragodia is not good late. Anyway, Foolish's Necro passes the turn back. Probably has very few Foolish targets left over, and probably wants the deck then to draw into the Dark Creator. He is playing 3 copies of the Dark Creator, which we find out here shortly. We just start off with set Deep Prison. There's really nothing to be done here. We only have 4 monsters for our Avarice. We could pitch the Caius to get to 5, but that's just silly. No reason to set further. I want the Gorse to be live if possible. He's going to Allure. He's going to draw 2. He's going to banish that Trag. So it does end up finding a conversion. And he does end up finding his Dark Creator, which is actually really good here. He can go Dark Creator and special out one of these monsters. And if he doesn't attack, he can actually put me in like a really awkward spot where I have to spend a lot of cards to deal with his board. Like if he didn't attack here, basically. But he is going to attack with the Reaper on the Nightmare. That's going to be met with a Dimensional Prison. Again, Mirror Force isn't gone here, so possible he should have just summoned the Reaper in defense position. That always represents a threat against me, and I always have to figure out a way to deal with that. And it's just free pluses with the Dark Creator here. And then he's going to attack for 23. The Dark Creator in attack position is kind of, again, I think it's a little bit of a liability. Yes, if you summon it in defense, I can go Black Rose and then switch it to attack. But you force me to do that. You know what I mean? Like, that is, it's kind of something, it's very forcing. This does get in the damage. This plays into Gorge, but yeah, I think leaving the Dark Creator around and like forcing me to spend cards to deal with it is a little bit better than what happens here, which is just sack for Caius, banish the guy, and then force the Necro Gardener, set compulsory, and basically have like a guarantee. Here comes the Necro Gardener, set the compulsory, pass, Typhoon, chain, bounce the Caius. One of the reasons I love compulsory is how it allows you to reuse your ETB effects or your flip effects. It'll let you reuse like Burnt Rykos or Caiuses or even Debris Dragons in some instances. Sometimes I'll like summon Debris Dragon, bring back like Card Trooper, and then I'll like compulse my Debris Dragon and just have the Card Trooper as like a draw mill engine sort of thing and save the Debris Dragon for later, that type of stuff. It can also reuse stuff like Gores after you summon the token. You can reuse Hamster if you play it. You can reuse Morphing Jar if you play it. So just really happy with the card. It helps you deal with Stardust Dragon too, which is super annoying. Brain Control, but that's not going to be enough damage. And we're going to go to game 2. So game 2 against this deck, I sided in a whole bunch. I sided in the DD Crows, 2 of them. And I sided in the Threatening Roar. I sided out, I believe, Dust Tornado, Heavy Storm. He didn't seem to have a lot of back row. And Dark Creator decks usually play Royal Decree. And I sided out, I think, some of my other trap cards. Like just random ones. Like Call of the Haunted, I think I sided out. And I think I sided out Mirror Force as well. I like to side out Mirror Force, just a card I always side out. Especially if, you know, people are going to play around it or whatever. Anyway, sets monster. We draw into Solemn Judgment. This hand is godly. I don't want to attack into a tomato. I want to Ryko Pop a tomato, so I'm going to set 4. He's going to Typhoon, and he's going to blind hit the Solemn Judgment. And that's going to prove to be a very fatal 25%er from my opponent. He's going to sack for Caius. I have some options here. I can compulsory my Ryko to preserve it. Give myself extra looks to find Dandelion. But milling isn't that great with my hand. I already have Card Trooper, which can already mill. I'd rather just bottomless this stupid Caius and take the 2 for 2. It's not a great 2 for 2, but it's a 2 for 2, and I can accept that at least. I draw Deep Prison, I mill 3, and I do hit my Dandelion, which is really nice. And this is an instance where I'm like upset. I think I had sided out the Spirit Reaper, but I wish I had a third Debris Dragon because I just want to draw Debris Dragon. If I draw Debris Dragon in this instance, I am crushing. But alas, I attack. My opponent has Gorge, which fucking sucks because what I have here doesn't really deal with the Gorge super well. Anyway, he switches the token to attack and attacks, and I'm like, man, if I compulse the token now, I'm getting 2 for 1 by this Gorge, which sucks. Like, no matter what. And that just feels really bad. I don't want to be forced to use compulsory on a 1900 monster, which I can run over by battle if I just draw a Debris Dragon. And this is exactly why I think you have to play 3 Debris Dragon, because this exact circumstance happens every single fucking game, where you're like, okay, I have Dandelion. I just need Debris Dragon. I literally just need Debris Dragon, and then my deck is amazing. My deck is broken. It does everything, right? So I think you just need 3, because like you want to see it as soon as possible and as often as possible. Anyway, he attacks a Card Trooper. We draw into another Deep Prison. He sets a back row, and I'm like, well, fuck me. I already know I messed up. And I'm like, okay, he's going to switch the Gorge. I'm going to set Deep Prison. He's going to end phase Decree. And I'm just going to say, okay. I don't really want to tell him about the compulsory evacuation device, even though he saw it last game. Because I'm pretty sure I've lost this one at this point. I think it's just over. He's going to draw for turn. He's going to Rhoda for Necro. He's going to normal Greffer, pitch the Necro, send Plague, and yeah, I've just lost this game. There's no coming back unless I draw specifically maybe Space Typhoon. I don't even know if that's going to be good enough. But now that I've confirmed he is on Royal Decree, I'm going to side in Breakers for the next game. He'll hit for 27. I draw for turn. It's quick draw. And I'm like, all right, let's just go next. Let's just go next. That was an insane Royal Decree. And he says, was pretty lucky with the MST. Solomon Decree would have been huge. And that is true. Solomon Decree would have won us the game. But that just happens. You know, sometimes your opponent snipes your Solemn Judgment. Like, that's the game, right? Like, you commit cards to the board, they're going to be vulnerable to spot removal. And that's just, that's Yu-Gi-Oh, you know? This hand is much better. We do have Debris Dragon. And like I said, if you draw this card, your deck is just like, oh, it's so good. We draw into Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer, another really good card. He'll help us fight against Malicious and Necrogardna, as well as the Dark Creator and Dark Arm Dragon from the opponent. I'm in normal Lone Fire. I'm going to go into Titanial, set Bottomless, and pass. We could have played this hand a bunch of different ways. We could have just set Torrential, pass. We could have set Bottomless, pass. We could have set Raikou, set Torrential. We could have done this a billion different ways. And I think I played it in the most aggressive way, but not necessarily the best way. I think I just wanted to get Titanial online to prevent Space Typhoon specifically, and to prevent him from going for that turn 1 Stardust that he showed me his deck can do very consistently. I don't want my opponent to make Stardusts or have like Space Typhoon or Heavy Storm and then make a Stardust, because then my hand actually just falls apart. But I also didn't want to draw into Titanial, and I think the fear of me getting unlucky and drawing into Titanial has like conditioned me to go for Titanial earlier than I should in hands like this. I think I should have, I think the best play here is actually like set Torrential, pass. But I'm just scared of drawing Titanial, basically. Anyway, he normal summons Grapher, he pitches Mally, sends Plague. He goes for Allure after this. So he draws 2, banishes Armageddon Knight. But I'm honestly okay with all this. I mean, Bottomless stops everything. He's going to go for Brain Control, so that's pretty scary. And this is an interesting hand, if you look at it, right? He had Grepher as the normal summon. He had the Allure of Darkness. I wonder if there was a way he could have Brain Controlled, made Stardust Dragon, and then summoned Dark Armed. I think that's what he should have done, if there was a way for him to do it. Now, I'm not sure he can do it, but if he can do it, like if he can get Stardust Dark Armed, then he probably just wins, right? So looking at his hand, maybe a bit of a dual puzzle for you guys. If you see what he had, the Armageddon, the Dark Arm, the Tomato, etc. How does he get to Stardust Dragon here before Dark Arm Dragon? How does he do that? Anyway, he DD Crows, he targets my Lone Fire, he special summons Dark Arm Dragon, he activates the effect with priority, and then I chain Bottomless, but this is actually a fucking noob mistake on my part. He didn't declare what he was targeting with Dark Arm Dragon, and I just shotgun the Bottomless like a fucking noob. But he didn't declare what he was targeting, and it turns out he's going to target the Titanium as a result. Now, would this have changed my decision? Probably not. And is he always going to target the Titanium anyway? Actually, I don't think he would have. I think he would have targeted the back row if I didn't flip my Bottomless up like that, and I would have gotten my Titanium back. However, in this circumstance, because I didn't ask him for his target, like a fucking scrub, I'm going to get owned. So you get to watch your boy make a fucking noob mistake here on channel. And he says, did I declare target? And I was like, no, you didn't. You can pop Titanium if you want to. I realized, man, I fucking choked. I just assumed he was targeting the back row, but he didn't say it. And that's key. Communication is key in this game. Anyway, he's able to special summon that Stardust Dragon now, which is pretty good if he's summoning Stardust Dragon. But he decides to go for Dark End Dragon. Now, this is an interesting one. This plays around Gorse, plays around Trigodia, but it doesn't play around me having cards in my hand. Like, I can take this hit, honestly, fairly easily, and come back from this, again, honestly, fairly easily. He's going to attack with 1700 and 2600. I think this is absolutely a case where he should have made Stardust Dragon, because at least in that case, maybe the Stardust Dragon can stop something in my hand. It can stop a Raikou. This guy can stop a Raikou too, but Stardust Dragon can also stop Debris Dragon into Black Rose, for example. So, yeah, we draw into Compulsory, which makes this circumstance null and void. Whether he would have made Stardust Dragon or not doesn't really matter, because I have Compulsory for the Synchro, whatever the Synchro may be. I'm going to normal summon Kaiku. I'm going to attack Dark Refer. I'm going to banish that Malicious. Just try to keep the level of Darks low in his graveyard for the Dark Crater. Set 2 and pass. He's going to activate the Dark End. We can then chain Compulsory. Dark End needs to lose the attack to resolve. So if it's returned to the extra deck, it doesn't lose the attack, so it's not going to resolve here. So Compulsory is always going to trade 2 for 1 with the Dark End. Another reason why I love Compulsory in this deck. It prevents your opponent from going for Dark End on your Stardust Dragons and whatnot. It's really nice. He sets a monster, passes back. We draw into Caius. I'm going to sacrifice Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer, despite not really wanting to. For Caius the Shadow Monarch, we're going to deal 3,400 and put the opponent on, have something good here or lose. He top decks Solemn, he sets it. We attack for 24. Main phase 2, going to set the Raikou, set the book, pass. He's going to heavy, we're going to chain book. He's going to Solemn the book and realize that he is lost. So a really powerful draw from the opponent. I mean, he had Brain, Dad, Allure, Rhoda, fucking Solemn, Heavy Storm. Like, he had it all. Like, he had the nuts. He even had a Crow to prevent the comeback play. Now, I think had he played that one turn where he went for the Dark Arm Dragon, if he had played that turn differently, if he had not gone for, like, Brain Control, or if he had not, like, done the Greffer thing, or... I don't really know. I don't know when he drew the Dark Armed. I'd have to rewatch it again and figure it all out. Let's replay that, and let's see what he drew off the Allure there in Game 3. Because I'm actually curious... That's a really fun dual puzzle, I think. Let's go ahead and fast forward. Let's see what he's about. Anyway, so he has the Dark Armed, he has the Rhoda, right? Like, he already has, like, everything he's gonna end up playing, or everything he knows about. We go ahead and go into Titanial. Pass. He's gonna go Rhoda. Oh, he has the Armageddon as well. Wow. Okay. Interesting. That's really interesting. Okay, let's think here for a second. Let's take a moment. He Rhodas for Dark Greffer. Now, if you pitch special Dark Greffer, pitch Armageddon, send Plague, you have 3 Darks. And then you can... Pardon me. Then you can go Stardust Dragon, down to 2 Darks. Crow my Lone Fire, special summon Dark Armed. Dark Armed pop, the back row or whatever. Titanial can't negate because then Stardust can negate the Titanial. And then he'll have Dark Armed Stardust. So it looks like there was a way for him to go for Dark Armed Stardust. But that way involved him not going for the Allure. So he was supposed to hold the Allure, pitch special Dark Greffer, pitch Armageddon, send Plague, make the Stardust first. Oh no, he'd have to stack the Allure. Yeah, I guess that's still fine though, because then you end with Stardust Greffer Dark Armed to my 4 cards in hand. But Stardust Greffer Dark Armed is probably beating my 4 cards in hand, especially with Titanial gone and nothing in play from me. Because everything that deals with that, I would have to commit to the board. Like, let's say I would go Debris Dragon, bring back Lone Fire, and Black Rose. Well, I can't do that because Stardust Dragon can negate the Black Rose, so that doesn't work, right? I would have to have, like, specifically Foolish Debris Dragon plus, like, Mirror Force or something to come back into the game. Like, I would have to have, like, a 3-card combo to come back from that. So I think if he had gone for that, if he had recognized that situation, then he could have been in a much better spot. And then, honestly, the interesting part is, like, once he makes Stardust, if I go for Bottomless there, he negates with Stardust. Then I guess if I Bottomless the Stardust, it's bad for him. Because then he specials Dark Armed, and then he has to trade the Dark Arm with the Titanial. Then he just has Stardust Greffer to my 4 cards. And that's much less resilient, but it's still pretty resilient. Like, it's pretty difficult for my deck to deal with Stardust outside of Compulse. That's a really interesting one. These Dark Greffer, Dark Arm decks are so incredibly powerful because they have so many different lines of play. They have so many different ways to do this. I'm curious if there's a different way, if you guys see a different way now that you see this. Let's see what he draws off the Allure. He goes Allure after this. He draws into Mystic Tomato. Yeah, so, like, the Allure got him to Brain Control, but I think from this point he can't Stardust and Dark Armed. Yeah. I think from this point his play should have been, like, Man, this is a weird one. If he makes Colossal, does he have game? Let's see. Colossal has 1 warrior. It'll have 1 warrior. So it'll be 29, 57, 74. It's not quite game. Like, if he goes Brain Control to Titanial, make Colossal, I bottomless the Colossal. He hits for 45. He passes the Titanial back. We attack over the Dark Grepher. He draws whatever he was draw locked into. That's a weird turn. That's a weird turn. I think the best play was not using the Allure and doing the all-in play on the Stardust Dragon stuff. Either that or maybe alluring before you go for the Grepher pitch. I understand not wanting to draw into the second Mally or the Plague, but I think you should allure before going for the Grepher so you have perfect info. That would have changed, I think, how he sequenced it. Obviously, it would have changed the 2 cards he drew because the deck wouldn't have been thinned of these 2 cards. But that's one of those instances where, like, I think you kind of just have to say fuck it. Anyway, next match. Next match is versus Michael. Against Michael, we lose the rock, paper, scissors, which is tough. And Michael's actually playing, I think, one of the worst matchups for this deck, which is Lightsworn. He starts off with Solar Recharge, pitching Wolf, so he has the perfect conversion. He mills 2 and he hits another Wolf. So we're already starting off the game in a really, really bad spot. He also has Card Trooper, which is one of the best openers from this deck because it gives you that extra draw towards JD. He's going to hit another 2 Lightsworn names as well on top of that. So he's at 3 names already. He does reveal he's on the Glorious Illusion build, which tells me that DD Crow is actually going to be pretty good against him. So it makes me kind of happy that I have triple DD Crow. And my hand here isn't completely dead because I didn't draw Titanial. I did draw Lone Fire. We do draw Heavy Storm, which is a brick. Kind of sucks. Alas. But we can go for Lone Fire into Titanial. I save the second Lone Fire in the deck because I do want to find Dandelion, and I think drawing Lone Fire is actually like a pretty good draw here. I'm going to attack into the Card Trooper. I don't want to play into the second Honest here. And I want to clear Card Trooper just so it makes it that much harder for him to hit the 4th name main phase 1. And then on top of that, I actually want him to get the Card Trooper draw now so that I can see as many cards as possible with Trap Dust Shoot. That, and it also deals 2,400, which is pretty useful. He's going to draw a card, we're going to set Dust Shoot, and we're going to activate it. And I see the hand here from the opponent is fucking nasty. He has a really good hand. He's got Heavy Storm, he's got Call of the Haunted, and he's got all of the monsters necessary to deal with a Titanial through this Dust Shoot. We do have to take Judgment Dragon, unfortunately. We could take Lumina, but then he can just, like, straight up just crash the Jane or something like that. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, yeah, I guess we're getting JD'd there. That's kind of awkward. We could have taken the Lumina, but I think it's always best to just take the JD and not have to deal with that, because I think if you don't take the JD, you're only delaying the inevitable. Whereas if you take the JD, maybe you can fight through whatever they're able to put up right now. So take the JD. He's going to go normal Lumina, pitch Plague, bring out the second Wolf. Now, I thought about this play a lot from our opponent here, and I thought one thing he could have done is ladder into an 8-star and stack his graveyard with Bryonic for his call, which would have been really fucking hard for us to beat. So let's say he doesn't go for Lumina, bring out Wolf. Let's say he keeps the Lumina in hand and the Wolf is in the grave. He just normals Plague, synchros into Bryonic, stacks for Plague, synchros into Colossal Fighter, for example. Okay, Bryonic's in the graveyard, Colossal attacks over Titanial. We lose Titanial, all right? 1 for 1. We lose Titanial, but the Wolf was free. So he's still up quite a bit. And then from there, he actually has a handful of... He basically has the same hand here. Imagine like Lumina's on top of the deck or whatever. He can then either set Heavy Storm or set Call of the Haunted or whatever. And he can have Call of the Haunted on Bryonic, which is fucking crazy insane. And he can have Colossal Fighter as well. That being said, it is a little bit risky into Debris Dragon. But the play he's about to make here as well is already risky into Debris Dragon. So I'm thinking, if you're going to risk into Debris Dragon, I think you say, fuck it, you don't have it, and then get the Bryonic in the grave so that you can Call of the Haunted, the Bryonic on the next turn and actually go for game. between the Bionic bouncing anything that I commit to the board and the Lumina being able to special summon the lethal damage push. So yeah, I think this play is ironically puts you in a worse spot, and it makes your Call of the Haunted worse. Anyway, Katastro's going to run over the Titanial. We're going to take 2100 here. But this play similarly loses to Debris Dragon just the same. But yeah, I don't know. I think that this is it's an interesting situation to be in. I think that his play is a little bit more resilient into me clearing his Call of the Haunted. But if I clear his Call of the Haunted, he can chain it on Card Trooper. I activate Heavy Storm. He doesn't chain the Call of the Haunted. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And now I'm in kind of an awkward spot where I need to summon this quick draw. And I have the Night Assailant, but my Raikou hasn't hit the grave. And this is all because of that stupid fucking wolf. If he only had one wolf in play, we could just set the Raikou and set up for a big quick draw Night Assailant. But because he milled that wolf, we're like really kind of behind. And we're going to die if we don't do this turn. But that being said, I know his hand. I know he's draw locked. He says he should have chained into the Trooper. Absolutely should have. It would have given him a draw for free. Caius is going to target the Catastor. That's going to deal him 1,000. We'll attack the Wolf. He's going to take 300. And we'll pass the turn back. Now we have perfect info because he didn't call for the Card Trooper. But we are still losing on board. He's going to set the Nimble Mega. Not losing on board, but we have less cards, basically. And Nimble Mega can clear the Caius. We draw into the second Lone Fire, so we do end up finding Dandelion Access after we're forced to use our quick draw. So maybe a misplay on my part, not just going double lone into Titanial. That being said, I don't mind going for the going for set Night Assailant here and having Dandy Access next turn. Because he'll be forced to flip the Hamster, get Raikou, and then we can use Night Assailant to actually pop the Raikou so that our Kaya sticks around. He's going to attack into the Night Assailant. Night Assailant's going to pop the Raikou. Awkward trade for us. It's like a -1 trade, but we'll pick up the plus by running over the Super Nimble. He sets the second to Super Nimble. We'll attack over the guy. He's going to drop to 27, and then I'm going to Lone Fire into Dandy in defense and set Book of Moon and pass. I know he has Heavy Storm, but I just need to play something to bait the Heavy Storm eventually. He rips Solar Recharge, which is a really good draw. He's going to draw Aaron Graganith. Graganith, an insane draw here. Just showcasing the power of this card in the late game. This is a card that hasn't really made an appearance on the channel thus far, and it's played as a one-of in the Glorious Illusion lists because of how insanely strong it is at closing out games, not only as a draw, but also as a special summon off of Glorious Illusion. He goes for that Heavy Storm. He flips the Nimble Mega. He grabs Raikou. He sacks the Nimble Mega for Graganith, and I'm just like, fucked. Like, this is insane. My only hope is that he decides to attack the Caius for some reason. But no, he attacks the Dandelion. He pierces for 3,500, which is fucking crazy. Dangerous as fuck card. We're going to get 2 tokens, but like, now what? I specifically need to rip Debris Dragon or the game ends. And this is why, again, you need 3 Debris Dragon. Because every game it comes up where you're like, I need to draw a Debris Dragon right now. Or I need to have a Debris Dragon or else I can't play this game. And this is exactly one of those circumstances. For us, he mills the Necro Gardener. We draw Mirror Force. We'll set that. He'll flip the Raikou and pop it and just attack us for game. So we lose. The only way we could play this is Caius attack the Raikou, but because he milled the Necro Gardener, all he has to do is Necro Gardener negate that attack, and he wins the game. So we concede, and we go to the next one. He says, by the way, wanted to thank you for everything you're doing for Edison. And I said, glad you're enjoying the format. And he says he got back into playing after 8 years of not playing. That's awesome. I hope that this guy and everyone who's watching this is able to like reconnect with some friends or meet some new friends as a result of this, and just have a fun time playing this format. Format's relatively affordable. It's a blast. His deck is super powerful, so it looks like he's kept up to date with the 2023 metagames and whatnot. And yeah, it's just really cool to see. It makes me happy because that's the whole point of this, right? Like I'm recording these videos to like try and bring people together, I guess. Ooh, don't show his hand. Anyway, this game we open up with the nuts. This is the fucking GOAT hand. This is Quick Draw Dandy. That's everything you could ever ask for in an Edison format hand. We're going to go ahead and go for that drill and just be like, fuck it, you can't answer drill. Lightsworn actually does struggle to deal with Drill Dandy, so this is a great setup for us. We've got our Raikou we can set as a way to pop monsters, and we got Bottomless as a way to pop Lila. He's going to recharge, so both games opening up with recharge, and both games getting a great mill. He hits Plague off of the recharge, so just a really great start from the opponent. He's got a lot of options here. He could have elected to keep that Arceus. Actually, I'm so annoyed. I need to see what he drew off of recharge. I need to see what he drew, because like keeping the Arceus there might have actually been the best play. I need to see what he drew. That's actually going to drive me insane. Okay, game... No, fuck. God damn it. It's fucking... Just want to go to game 2. Stupid dueling book. Motherfucker. There should be like a fucking wheel. You know what I mean? There should be a fucking thing where you can like scroll through the games. I don't know how to say it. Anyway, okay, looking at his hand. Yeah, so we make Drill Dandy, right? We pitch special set. Okay. Yeah, so I think he misplays here. I think he should summon Arceus like always. Yeah, I think he should summon Arceus. Try to clear the sex. It's probably a Raikou, right? Arceus also makes it so he can't be Caiused on the way back. And it lets him play through Bottomless and Deep Prison and start to get his mills going. So I think what he should do is actually recharge pitch the Lila. Lila is much worse here. Lila just plays into everything. It plays into Bottomless. Like, you can pop Deep Prison, I guess. But I sided out my Deep Prisons. That's something that I should have talked about. Hold up. Let's talk about how I side in this matchup. Because that's important. I think how you side against Lightsworn is... It determines whether or not the matchup is good or bad. So let's go ahead and hop into the solo mode. And I'll show you guys how I side. Begin siding. So assume that the Spirit Reaper is a third debris, right? Against Lightsworn, against specifically his build of Lightsworn, Dust Tornado and Heavy Storm come out, but Typhoon stays in. Typhoon can hit Royal Decree. It can also hit Glorious Illusion or Call of the Haunted, which is pretty important to hit because of stupid Graganith. That card is really good against us. I side out also Call of the Haunted, Double Deep Prison, and Mirror Force against Lightsworn. These cards are just liabilities. Every single one of their cards gets rid of these. Raikou, Hamster, Lila, Celestia, JD, literally like half of their deck deals with Mirror Force, Deep Prison, and Call of the Haunted. Well, yes, sometimes you can get a good Mirror Force versus them because they have Arceus. I think it's just best to assume that they are going to have one of those maybe 18 cards that deals with those cards. So you want to cut them straight out. I bring in 3 DD Crows against specifically the Glorious Illusion version. I think you can bring in 3 DD Crows versus any version of Lightsworn, and it's not going to be the worst thing you could do. I do bring in Double Kaiku, and then I do bring in that Threatening Roar. So that's 6 cards you can bring in. On top of that, you can actually, against this build, bring in Breaker. Why? Because Breaker can attack over Arceus, which is super important. It can attack over Hamster, which is super important. And it can pop Glorious Illusion and Call of the Haunted, which is super important. Being 1900 is actually a really good stat line versus Lightsworn. It runs over most of their stuff. It even runs over Gareth, which is like normally one of the more annoying cards to deal with because against Quick Draw can attack over your Hamsters. If you want to side in Breakers, I think some of the cards that you can side out effectively are like, assuming that this Spirit Reaper is the third debris, you could side out Compulsory. I don't think Compulsory is like that good versus Lightsworn. And you could also side out like maybe, I don't know. The only reason I do like Compulsory is you can like kind of set them back a turn if they're going second or if you're going first. But yeah, Compulsory could definitely come out for like a Breaker. And that's not like a terrible trade off either. And I think that this is like a great way to side because you just get like, you get a really good way of attacking the graveyard and making it difficult for them to get their powerful synergies going. Anyway, what were we doing? This is game 2. This is game 2. We have Drill Dandy. They go Solar Recharge. They pitch the Arceus. They go for the Lila. That's going to be met with Bottomless. So game 2, game 3 with Lightsworn, you should assume your opponent has sided out their Deep Prisons and their Mirror Forces because those cards are so fucking bad versus Lightsworn. Like Deep Prison is like, oh my god, it's just shut off by everything. It's so bad versus Lightsworn. So yeah, I think him going for that there, a little bit of a sus play, I'm not going to lie. He sets a back row, which is Glorious Illusion, and passes the turn back to us. We're able to get Drill add back Dandy. Now, actually not certain if I should have Drill added back Dandy here or Drill added back Caius. I was a little bit scared of Mirror Force, so I thought about it for a long time. I was also scared of like, I also had anticipated of Raikou popping the back row, but I think in hindsight I should have added back the Caius here in case he had Gores. That being said, when they stack Glorious Illusion, they rarely have Gores. So Raikou's going to pop. We're going to mill 3. We're going to attack for 224. Milling the Debris Dragon is perfect because, like I said, you just want to see Debris Dragon. Drill Warrior will be able to add that back, which is really nice. Pitch the Dandy, get 2 more tokens, set the Solemn, pass the turn back. He draws Typhoon. He's able to Typhoon our back row, but he just doesn't have enough Lightsworn names, and so this isn't like gonna do anything. He sets a Necro, we bring back Drill, add back Caius, sack for Caius, and that's gonna be game 2. So fast Drill Dandy, backed up by a powerful bottomless trap hole, and my opponent making the mistake of not summoning Arcus when he absolutely should have, definitely cost him this game. One thing with Lightsworns is, it doesn't usually matter if your millers die, as long as they got the mills in, basically. But yeah. Alright, moving on to game 3. Game 3, let's see if those sideboard cards can come into play. We did side in a lot of cards. We didn't see any of the cards we sided in, but this game we do have the father himself, Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer. This guy is so fucked up versus Lightsworn. I'm convinced if you have 2 of these in your sideboard, or 3 of these even in your sideboard, that it makes Lightsworn go from a bad matchup to a great matchup. Just because if you do draw this card, you're probably winning. Anyway, starts off with Lumina, mill 3, which is, it's so good for our hand because we have Sangan. Like, any other normal summon, we might be forced to go, like, Kaiku and, like, risk into Honest. But because it's Lumina, we're able to crash Sangan, which is so good. We'll go Sangan attack. He's forced to spend his Mirror Force on our Sangan, which is, like, really, really nice for us. Very lucky exchange. We're able to search Dandelion, and then once again, we've got Drill Dandy, which is fantastic. We're going to go Quick Draw, pitch, Synchro into Drill, Drill, pitch our Night Assailant. Once again, not having the flip effect's a little annoying, but it's fine, you know? Night Assailant is an advantage engine if we find a flip effect. I'm going to set Book and pass. He's going to Heavy Storm. I'm going to Chain Book on the Lumina. He's going to say, can't I just flip it? I'm like, yes. Yes, you can. And flip it, he does. He pitches Plague to bring out Arcus. So now he does have that Arcus, making our Caius a lot worse here. He's going to attack the token and attack me directly for 1,200. He's going to get 5 mills as well. Thankfully for us, we get insanely fortunate. Not only does he not mill a single Lightsworn name out of 5 mills, but he mills both as Honest. So now I don't need to be scared of it. And I don't need to play like a bitch around Honest. Whereas before, I would have had to play in such an awkward way. That being said, he could have another Beckoning Light, but I'm like, what are the chances he has multiple Glorious Illusions, Call of the Haunted, Mirror Force, and multiple Beckoning Light? I just don't see it. I just don't believe that that's going to be the case. We're going to go ahead and add back Dandelion. Normal summon Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer, attack Lumina. Now this is an awkward situation. Arcus is in play, so Kaiku can't actually banish Lightsworn monsters if there were any in his graveyard. But that being said, it's fine because I can just, I don't really want to banish Lightsworns anyway. I kind of want to get the Honests and the Plague banished. So yeah, we're just going to banish both of those. And then we're going to attack over Arcus, dealing 1,200. Drill Warrior. Maybe phase 2 we're going to charge to find Raikou, because if I can get a Raikou in my graveyard, then bringing back Night Assailant or a Morphing Jar or something like that can become like a card advantage engine. But this is fine. Just pitching Dandy and getting the tokens. He's going to special Cyber Dragon, so he has a big aggro push on the way back. He's going to call Lumina, Lumina pitch Lila, bring out Arcus, and then he's going to sack the Lumina for Celestia to pop 2 of my monsters. If he hits a wolf here, we almost lose the game. We're going to be taking 6,500. And if he hits 2 wolves, we immediately lose the game, which is fucking crazy. Yeah, so he mills 4. Doesn't hit a single wolf, but he does hit that scary Graganith. Really interesting. Really interesting. Anyway, Arcus is going to attack the token. We're going to take 2,100 and 2,300. And we're going to drop super, super low. And phase is going to mill 2. Hopefully no wolf. Thankfully no wolf. So in a bunch of mills, no wolf. Very, very lucky for us. Any wolf here would have made this a very difficult comeback to make. Drill Warrior comes back. We have to actually add back Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer here. But once again, Kaiku putting in that work, making sure we can clear these Lightsworn names. Normal summon Kaiku, attack the Celestia, attack over the Arcus. And this is an awkward situation where we deal the damage while Arcus is still in play. So we have to banish the non-Lightsworns. We can't target the Lightsworns with Kaiku while Arcus is still in play. Arcus prevents stuff prevents Lightsworn monsters from being targeted anywhere. So even in the graveyard or the banished zone, they can't be targeted while Arcus is in play. Set bottomless, pass the turn, or pitch and then banish drill and pass the turn. This is an interesting spot to be in, where we could have halved the drill to play around top deck brain control. Not half the drill, sorry, left the drill in play to play around top deck brain control. But I think we lose to top deck brain control either way, if I remember correctly. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we lose to that no matter what, yeah. He top decks Aaron. He's going to normal Aaron. And this is an interesting spot. I'm actually going to let the Aaron resolve. It is a little awkward if he mills a wolf, but I need to save the bottomless for JD because it's the only thing we have that responds to JD immediately. Anyway, Aaron mills 3. We get back our drill. Drill gets to add back Haiku the Ghost Destroyer. We can summon the Ghost Destroyer. And now we finally get to stick our Ghost Destroyer. And things start to turn back into our favor. And this is why Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer is so fucking powerful versus his deck, is you just keep reusing it. You can just keep getting it back with Drill Warrior. And it's like, it's just so good. It's just so good. This is like my favorite card in the deck. This is like, this guy and Breaker, reusing them with Drill Warrior is like crack cocaine. It's actually so, I mean, not that I condone the use of those illegal substances, but I'm assuming it would have a similar effect on the brain as those. I wouldn't know personally. I've never partaken in the in this. You know what? Let me just move forward. Let me just move forward with this analogy. Anyway, Drill Warrior comes back. I ask if he has a response, or I declare the drill to see if he wants to chain Glorious Illusion. Because once the drill is resolving, we add back the Crow, and it's Jover, right? Drill resolves, we add back the Crow, and now he can't Glorious Illusion here because we can just Crow. We're going to banish a couple of the singular Lightsworn names. Now, he does have 4 names, and we could shotgun the Crow, but I feel like we need to wait on it. So I just pitched the Trap Dust Shoot that's now dead to banish the drill. We are dead to top deck. I don't know. I don't know if we're dead to top deck anything. Anyway, drill comes back. He's going to Glorious Illusion. I'm going to chain DD Crow. And I say GG's because drill can attack directly. That game was wild. He milled half his deck. He didn't find JD as a draw. And he didn't mill Wolf or see Wolf throughout the game. And that really changed the course of the game. I think this matchup for Quick Draw is very bad. I think Dragonith is a really difficult card to deal with. I think you do need to have a significant amount of hate in order to deal with this matchup consistently. Thankfully, it's not as popular as it probably should be. But I do think the Glorious Illusion Lightsworn deck is... I think this might even be a channel first for it, right? No, I think I've played it once before. I think it's really good. I think it's like super slept on. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thank you guys for your consistent support, consistently tuning in, all those things. And I will see you probably tomorrow with another Edison format video. Let me know in the comments below if there's a deck that's been circulating that you want to see me play. I am open to suggestions. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.